friends, it's Gwen. Welcome back to my channel. I do have a few announcements for you. Number one, I'm sorry if the lighting is not that great. The reason why is it has been extremely overcast or it's super dark when I get home from work already, and I still want to put out videos for you guys. I don't have a lighting kit yet, so I'm just using some lights in my room to do the best that I can with the lighting. So hopefully it's not too big of a distraction. Number two, all of my social media is linked down in the description box as always, so feel free to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The third thing that is something I want to ask you guys, and that is, would you like me to participate in Vlogmas? Of course, December is already upon us, which means Christmas is literally right around the corner. But I was wondering if you guys would be interested in vlogs, like maybe a weekly vlog where I compile a week and then like put it out on Sunday for you guys. If you would like maybe just an extra video, not necessarily vlog style, or if you would like me to try to do a video every day. The only thing is that I am working until the 16th of December, so the first couple of weeks are going to be pretty bland, but I think I could do like a combination of like maybe extra videos or vlog or something like that. So if any of you are interested in that, let me know down in the comment section down below. If you're not, I am totally okay with that and understand. A lot of people do Vlogmas, and I know your feed can get pretty cluttered during this time of year, and I want you guys to watch my videos, so I don't want to put out like too much that you guys aren't watching, but let me know if some of you are interested in that. If not, like I said, no problem. Today's video though is going to be my November wrap up. I read 4 books and I really enjoyed the books that I read, so let's go ahead and jump in with the first one. The first book that I read this month was 10 by Gretchen McNeil. I was actually sent this copy from my secret sister last round, so this was free. So thank you so much to Jennifer for that. But I heard that this was kind of like the YA version of Agatha Christie and Then There Were None. I have not read that book. It is on my TBR shelf though, so hopefully I'll get to it sometime soon. But I actually read this one first, and I was trying to read it in October, but I ended up finishing it up in November. This story is about 10 teens on an island, and there is like a murder spree happening. So 2 friends, they're best friends, they are invited to this exclusive party on Henry Island. So they take off to Henry Island, and then when they get there, it starts going down. They get there and the electricity goes out, they have no internet, and there's kind of like this weird video that they watch that talks about revenge. And then people start dying. And at first it's like a coincidence, like, oh, maybe it's just this freak accident. But then they're starting to realize, no, like more people are dying. Someone is killing us off one by one. And they're trying to figure out if it's someone, not the 10 teens, like there's someone else in the house or on the island that's killing them, or is it one of the 10 of them that's killing off people? So this story reminded me a lot of the 2009 TV series Harper's Island, as in, you know, people are dying and you have your theories like who is it and things like that. My mom, my dad, and myself were obsessed with that TV show. I actually have it on DVD. And even though it's not as great the second or the third or the fourth time around as it is the first, because obviously you know who done it, I really loved that show, watching it with them when it was airing, and we always had our theories and stuff. So that's kind of what this book is like. You have your theories and it's leading you down one direction when really you should be going this direction, and every chapter you kind of seem to be leaning one way or another. So there were some positive and negative things about this. The first thing is the characters were so annoying. I was annoyed by every single character in here at one point or another. The thing that annoyed me especially about them is that as much as there was tension between them, why would you go to a party when you don't like anybody that's there? There was just too much tension between these characters. And I understand that there has to be tension, obviously, if people are going to be dying. But there was too much tension, and just it seemed like everybody hated everybody, including the 2 best friends that went there together. A positive note This isn't like one of those B-rated movies that you go to and you're like screaming at the, you know, TV or the movie screen like, don't do that, that's so stupid, do this. These teens were actually making smart decisions, trying to figure it out, and making smart decisions on how to figure it out. I ended up rating this one 3 stars, and it's a quick, fast-paced read that if you're looking for a little bit of mystery and a little bit of a like a murder mystery type thing, maybe you should pick this up. The next book that I read this month is one that I absolutely loved. I gave it 5 stars, and that is Girl in Pieces by Kathleen Glasgow. This is her debut, and it is super strong, you guys. I will definitely be reaching for her works in the future. I can't wait to see what she publishes next. I really loved this, but as you can tell probably from the cover itself, this is a story that deals with cutting. So if that is triggering in any way, tread lightly. This story is about Charlotte, who is a cutter, and the story actually starts with her in a hospital / treatment center, but it doesn't, you don't spend too much time there. It's actually more about the aftermath. Like after she is released, she ends up in Arizona, and it's kind of like starting the next chapter of her life. What was really strong about this book was the writing, number 1, and the characters, number 2. I loved the depth that Glasgow took with the characters, and not just Charlotte herself, but all of the side characters were just amazing, and they were flawed, and they were just, it was just beautiful. I loved the writing. I loved the characters. I like how it wasn't just on Charlotte. Like there were so many other backstories to all the characters, and just how it blended together to just make like perfection. It does have a little bit of the Girl Interrupted vibes, how Susanna went to the hospital and was in treatment there, and then how they like, you know, they broke out and stuff like that. It does have that. I loved that movie, you guys. I was a little bummed at first. I love treatment center type books, but cutting is something very personal to me, and I always look at it with a more critical eye, and I think she just nailed it on the head. It was a beautiful story. This wasn't about fixing Charlotte. It was more about, and it wasn't like happily ever after. It was more about every single day putting one foot in front of the other. You know, living each day and trying to do the right thing, the healthy thing, every single day, every single step, multiple times a day, you know, consciously making good decisions, and, you know, being okay with that new chapter in your life. I loved this book so much, and I'm sure it's going to mean a lot to you, especially if you have cut or do cut, but it might be triggering. So watch out for that. But I love this book, you guys. The next book I actually got on #BooksForTrade on Twitter. I traded someone my copy of Witches Volume 1 for Playlist for the Dead by Michelle Falkoff. I've been wanting to read this for a while. It's been on my wish list forever since it debuted, and I'm finally, you know, got a chance to read it, and I was a little bit let down for all of the build up to finally get it. I ended up rating this one 3 stars, and it had some pluses and some minuses. So there could be triggers for this one for suicide and loss, but it just briefly mentions the suicide, and it doesn't really delve too much into that. So it shouldn't be too triggering, but then again, that's coming from my perspective, and it might be different for you. But basically, all the main character Sam knows is that there was a party, there was an argument, and the next day his best friend Hayden had committed suicide. So instead of focusing on the suicide and the grief and the loss and dealing with that, it focused more on the mystery of what happened that night to cause Hayden to kill himself. So Sam and Hayden, obviously best friends, they loved music, they were kind of the dweeby, you know, couple, but they were very kind of polar opposites. One was, you know, rich, one was kind of poor, and they kind of just worked together. So I really did feel their connection, even though in this story, obviously, one is no longer with us. So instead of Sam grieving and going through that process, which I wish it would have focused on a little bit more, Hayden leaves behind this playlist that tells Sam, listen to this and you'll understand. So that's what I was going into it for. I was hoping there was like a mystery element, like piece together the lyrics type thing. And every chapter I did tab them here is a new song, you know, title and artist. I'll flip to one right here. So every one has like a little song like that. Here's another one. And maybe the chapters do somewhat have to do with the song, but more often than not really. And that was a little bit of a downer for me. So even though I thought that they were going to lead to clues, they really had nothing to do with it. So really, the suicide was used as a plot device to move the story forward, while our main character Sam is trying to figure out what happened. He ends up, you know, meeting a girl and trying to find out like the reasons why, like she knew him, but he didn't know that she knew him. And so it's kind of like he's just in the mystery of what happened at that party that night that made my best friend commit suicide. The story and the mystery behind it is multi-layered, and it just goes to prove that there's two sides to every story. In this case, there are multiple sides to the story of what happened. There is LGBTQ representation in this. I'm not sure if it's a good representation or not, but it is in here. I will leave that up to the experts, but it was in here. The characters were relatable. If you were this age, you can kind of relate to them. It has like nerdy qualities to it, the music, the gaming. It has an awkward romance, but it does have a little bit to do with personal growth and self-discovery as well. Again, I rated this 3 stars. It wasn't exactly what I was looking for or what I thought I was going to get, so maybe that just threw me off. And the last book that I read in the month of November was The Graces by Lori Evie. I think that's how you say her name. She was born in Paris. The author was born in Paris but lives in London. So she has one of those French names that I'm sure I can't pronounce right. This book was really super surprising. I don't read a lot of witch books. I don't think I've ever read a witch book other than like Harry Potter, but that's not really like witchy to me. But this is the story of a girl that gives herself the name River. We never do find out like what her real name is. And she moves to a new town, like this coastal town, and she goes to school. And at this school, there's kind of like this aura. There's these siblings that everybody thinks are witches, and they just have all these grand stories following them. They're, you know, they're magnetic, and she hears all these crazy stories about them. And of course, like everybody else, she is drawn to them. Now, a lot of people think that it sounds like Twilight. And from that little snippet, it probably does. A girl moves to a town, there's the vampire family, but it's a lot different than that. And I think that's a common misconception, is that it's like Twilight, because I didn't get that connection at all. But some people have said that, so, you know, keep that in mind. But you never really find out if there is magic involved or not from the Graces, but there's the twins, and then there is Summer, who ends up befriending our main character River, and River is kind of like that unreliable narrator. You could tell from her narrative that there's some secretive stuff going on, but you really never figure out what's going on. She never really lays it on you and lets you know. But at the end, you kind of know a little bit more. This is the first book in either, you know, a series or something like that. I don't know how many books have been announced, but I definitely can't wait to pick it up. I rated this 4 stars. There is kind of I want to do a full review on this book, because it was one of those, I usually read very fast-paced books, but this one was not fast-paced at all. It was very slow and mellow, but what stood out, besides the Graces themselves, I was just obsessed with them, as everybody in this book was kind of the dreamy, atmospheric setting, and it kind of reminded me of the Raven Boys, as in how Maggie Stiefvater set up Henrietta, how it was very much a part of the story. I feel like this town is very much a part of the story. You know, it's a coastal town. There's these cramped, you know, shops, and just the people and the descriptions and the cove and the woods, and I don't know, it was just very atmospheric, and I loved that about them. But like I said, I plan to do a full review of this, so keep your eyes out for that. I will link it in the description of this video once I have that filmed. But yeah, those are the books that I read in November. I had a great reading month, and I hope to have a great reading month in December. I have already started my first book, and I will leave that a secret unless you follow me on Goodreads, and then you'll know what I'm reading. But anyway, I hope you all had a great reading month as well. Let me know what your favorite book is that you read. Don't forget to follow me on all of my other social media, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!